The creative economy.
With Vincent Heeringa.
Yes, indeed, from Idealog magazine, idealog.co.nz, NZ Marketing, of course, as well. I think we're more on the marketing side this morning. Good morning to you, Vincent.
Yes, good morning, Gwemma. Yeah, we're having a look at a story on stoppress.co.nz, which is the marketing blog we run as an extension of Marketing Magazine. Actually, Stop Press has become... I meet people now that say they know about Stop Press, but they've never heard of Marketing Magazine, which is kind of funny. It's been going for 27 years, and we launched Stop Press about 2 years ago, so...
Well, you know, once someone...
Damn internet.
Yeah, well, once someone sees a story on Stop Press, and they like it and they want to share it around, and that's how it gets around. It's much easier to fire off a link to the other side of town than a magazine, isn't it?
It is. Maybe.
Now, was it just on the subject of Stop Press? There was something else in that similar space before Stop Press came along, wasn't there?
Not online. No, it was some newspapers like the National Business Review. Will have a regular advertising and marketing blog, but online there was nothing else.
Okay, cool.
So we was first. There is an industry newsletter called Fastline, and they've subsequently got an online offering as well. But we was first in, best dressed, and sometimes, the early advantage works.
Okay, well, we're looking at the battle of local and all the various websites that have popped up in the past year, concentrating on community and local buying. Yes,
local's going nuts. It's fair to say, I have kind of really mixed views about this because I don't see any one model working or anyone really pulling it off so far. And even a reasonably quick search around what's happening in the States, which is the home of hyperlocal.
Yeah.
But just to put people in perspective, at the same time as the internet is connecting us all around the world, so we can read The Guardian and the New York Times for free down here.
Yeah.
It also potentially could unite us locally. So the ability to find out what's happening in your local area has just got a whole lot easier with people creating wikis and blogs and websites that can be updated, by your local butcher and local crime statistics or traffic patterns. And in the States, that movement has been pioneered by a site called everyblock.com, which has... In the States, these sorts of statistics are much more available, so you can publicly get your hands on crime statistics, break-ins, traffic flow, stuff about, digging up your street and things. And they've kind of made a proposition all around that as the core of the site. And then around that, they will sell local advertising, get your local book shop to say what's on special today.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And so it's kind of like our suburban newspaper, but online and in real time.
It's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Suburban newspapers gone online and driven not just by the news, but by local happenings. So what's on at the library this week?
Yeah.
Specials, jobs, opinion.
It's very attractive. I mean, I would if there was a local version of that, I'd definitely be on.
It's actually a great idea, and what I'm seeing in New Zealand is there's nobody that's every block has been driven out of a kind of entrepreneurial effort and has subsequently been bought up by a large newspaper group. And in the States, this is really being driven by the newspapers. So the New York Times, for instance, has a lot of interesting collaborations with local outfits. For instance, the local East Village blog is a joint venture between the New York Times and a local journalism school, and the kids from the journalism school get to practice their craft.
Yep.
And the New York Times gets to sell the advertising around this proposition, and it's very, very local. It's like what kids are doing, what the local community centre's doing, what the local cop thinks.
Well, that's cool. I like that. What other examples are there?
Well, in New Zealand, what we are seeing is going for this space are the big guys, specifically Yellow Pages, with its yellowlocal.co.nz, and New Zealand Post with its local list, which launched, I think, just last week.
Localist.co.nz.
Yes, that's right. And they got, what's interesting, Wammo, is the two different approaches. One, Yellow is going with a kind of a search approach. So you go to the Yellow Local homepage. I don't know if you can bring that up while we're talking.
Yep.
But you're presented with a kind of a Google kind of, sort of search option.
Yeah.
And that's all about, the philosophy is we don't know what you want, so go ahead and ask us, and we'll find the answer.
I'll look at a suburb dear to our hearts, Mount Albert in Auckland City.
Look at the lovely Mount Albert.
So I'm searching there. It comes up with a nice picture of the Alberton, which is nice. It's been a while since I've been there, actually. I want to go back and check that place out. There's notice boards, stuff about schools, community, restaurant and bars, health and beauty, sport, and things to do. Yeah.
So that's kind of localists going down Yellow's going down a kind of search option, and then if you click a few steps through, you start getting into the content. And the local list, the Post one, is the other approach, a kind of more like a community effort. We'll just throw a whole lot of stuff at you: Twitter feeds, blogs, news, listings. So it's more like I suppose like a blog or a newspaper.
And they came up with the idea of 100 people. In I think it's just Auckland at this stage, isn't it? Kind of hand-chosen people to be tastemakers. Yeah,
that's right. To be curators and kind of champions for their local area. If you would, so it's kind of interesting approaches, and the question is that if you're going to ask me, will they work, or are they very successful? My initial sort of feelings is that just looking at the sites, it's pretty underwhelming actually. Pretty underwhelming to go. Just picking on Yellow, for instance, to go to the Mount Albert site and see a picture of Alberton.
Yeah.
It's entirely predictable.
Yeah.
It's static.
Yeah.
It's not driven by local happenings. I mean, as you say, you've been to Alberton, 15 years ago? Why would you go again?
Yeah.
It's a museum. And that's cool, we like museums. But
it just doesn't relate to our everyday life in our suburb, does it?
It just feels a bit top-down. And
in fact, it says the local article there is the Food Show 2011, but I think pretty sure that's happening at the ASB Showgrounds. It's not really...
Yeah, that's right.
It's not hyper-local.
This is hard stuff, Wammo. It needs to be, for it to work, it has to feel authentic, urgent, immediate, real. They need 10,000 journalists on the ground.
Yeah.
Rather than, and so a large company just trying to suddenly put its footprint all over the country all at once that's a big task.
Yeah, and really it needs to be driven by, say, my folks who live in Wood End, North Canterbury. There's a local, I think it's maybe quarterly little newsletter that gets dropped into everyone's letterbox. And it's got, I think it's called the Woodpecker or something like that. But it's just jam-packed full of really hyper-local stuff, and from, it's driven by the local community and all the input, and there's I think there's bits of ads in there as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, the other example of that is in Auckland. There's two fantastic local magazines. One, the Ponsonby News, for instance, is a print product, and it is it's jam-packed with news, offers, coupons, advertising. It's fantastic, and people keep talking about print is dead, but those guys are making pots of money and doing a great job. Now, just going back to the other one, the local list, it's kind of like it's almost the very opposite of Yellow Pages or the Yellow Local, and that's kind of it's driven by, rather than the top down, it's driven by the people. But unfortunately, the people is not that informed, and it's only a few people, so you're getting what looks like just a constant stream of trivia.
Yeah, I see
so
that.
It's very difficult. I know how hard this is because I've built and tried to run websites and media products, and so I don't want to be overly critical, but it's hard to get it right. And my feeling about it, and a lot of the comments on Stop Press about this too, is that the ones that will work are the ones that are a bit like Trade Me, are created by entrepreneurs who are passionate, committed, and can start off an incredibly low base and build upwards from the bottom rather than from the top going down.
Absolutely agreed. And we haven't had time in this particular discussion to cover all the group buying sites, but perhaps we should do that in the future, because there's there's a few problems going on there.
That's fascinating too. I mean, that suddenly has just exploded, hasn't it, in the last 12 months? But just leave you with the thought, when Trade Me, when Telecom launched its rival to Trade Me, Ferret, it was a classic example of a corporate trying to do what an entrepreneurial outfit did so much better. And I just wonder whether Localist and Yellow will suffer the same fate.
Yeah. Well, time will tell. Thanks very much, Vincent.
Pleasure, Wammo.
Cheers. Go along to stoppress.co.nz.